We're bringing you out Uncle Hal, Sporty's Pilot Shop. What more needs to be said outside the fact that, boy, I've spent a lot of money with you.
Well, we appreciate that, and that's how I got here. Hey, but what happens in Vegas does stay in Vegas.
I hope so. God, I hope so.
Okay, we got to remember that.
Okay, we'll work on that.
And as I said, only to be 70 again.
There we go. Hal, one of the reasons I wanted to speak to you here, because you have a unique viewpoint. We talk a lot this week to manufacturers and products and capabilities and so forth, but among all the things that Sporty's does and has and so forth, Sporty's, the world of Sporty's, is you've got an avionics shop, and you've been doing business for an awful long time through a number of different technologies. You've been a part and a big part of AEA for an extraordinary period of time. As a shop owner, as a shop, somebody who's built up a shop from next to nothing, where do you see this industry going right now? What is your idea? Hal's message to the avionics industry about what you see?
Well, it's amazing what I get to see. I think the first really big thing I saw in avionics was the VOR. I didn't have to shoot a 4-course range anymore. And when I got my instrument rating, a 4-course range was one of the approaches we did. But then the next great thing was the storm scope. I could at least, it changed the whole thing. We were out there flying by weather we'd seen 3 hours before, or trying to get something related from some guy at flight service. Now at least we knew where the high voltage electricity was. We could steer the other way. And then I go even further, and coming in here Sunday night, going to Las Vegas Airport, we're on a radar vector, and we had put the 5-mile fix in, final approach fix in, and the runway end was in the GPS. And the next thing I saw, an arc had been drawn. We had to make a 180-degree reversal, and it showed exactly how we needed to make this turn. This is amazing. And this isn't the end. I was shown some things on the way out that I'm not allowed to talk about yet.
Just between us, Hal. Just you and me.
No one else to see this. Well, I'll tell you, the iPad in the other pilot's lap was magic. For flight.
And God, hasn't the iPad had an impact in the last couple of years?
What a change.
It really is.
In my lifetime, I've had 2 hernias repaired. And I'm convinced the second one came from carrying my charts. And now it's all on the iPad. It's amazing.
Yeah.
With the iPad now and the navigation on, the GPS on it, it's more than I had in my Aztec for 30 or 40 years.
It really has been something. And of course, Sporty's has really made a strong investment, if you will, in not just selling the technology, but supporting it. You're doing an awful lot of work to get the word out and things of that nature. And you were one of the first to do so. You got on that bandwagon real early. What little bug was telling you that this was going to be so big?
Well, I'm a nerdy engineer. And being a good nerdy engineer, I've always liked avionics, always wanted. We opened an avionics shop originally in 1976. Mm-hmm. It didn't work out. And then about 15 or 18 years ago, all of a sudden things came together, and with Chuck Gallagher being on board for 3-4 years, and everything came together, and we're going to do it again. And I got to admit, I like hanging around the avionics shop, and I don't have the patience anymore. So I don't pick up a screwdriver or a cutter, but I'm really into. I like this high-tech stuff, and of course, the next generation is taking over the company. I think they've done more than just. It's not taking. It's more than that. They're assuming, and the next generation is actually in place right behind them.
Probably darn.
And these are all homegrown people. They're all from the area, and it's just really good. Scott Cole, who runs, Chuck Gallagher runs the avionics, is responsible for the avionics shop. He's an engineer. professional engineer, as a matter of fact. I came up with Scott Cole. Okay, he came up from Cincinnati Lunken Airport, and this is funny. He was looking for a job. He was working for another avionics shop that doesn't exist anymore, but he said, look, I'll take care of the installations, I'll get everything done, but I'm no good talking to customers. So anyhow, 6 months, year later, he's talking frequently with the customers and talks a lot with the customer. I said, well, what's the deal? He said, well, you let me tell the truth. Which tells you why the other shop is gone.
Yeah.
But he came along, and then another person in the shop actually has worked for us. Mike Barger has worked for us for close to 40 years. And then we have a new A&P that's in the shop this fall he'll get his inspector authorization. And it's funny how he came along. He came to work for us in high school. When he was getting out of high school, he was going to go get a job as an equipment mechanic on heavy equipment like I think he was going to go to Caterpillar school. And I said, well, hey, why don't you try aviation mechanics? I said, you make the same money, only you stay clean. And he did it. He's now, he just celebrated 8 years with us, so he must be 24 years old, just got married. I try to warn him, but he's still got married. Hey, then we have another section, since we're the Cessna Star for most of Ohio and Kentucky and a little bit of Indiana, part of West Virginia, meaning that's the Cessna dealer, distributor,
right,
whatever you would call us. And we sold more airplanes than anyone in the Midwest last year.
How'd you manage that in this economy?
Well, it was only 4, which really hurts.
Ouch, okay.
And we were number 1. In a typical year, we sold 12 to 14.
Right.
Best year we ever had was 24. 4, and we're number 1. But anyhow, since we have a flight school also, a couple of flight schools, one's approved, the other is for people who walk in. So we've got 14 aircraft. So we have a crew mechanics who work over there also, and there are 4 A&Ps, and 2 of them have inspector authorization. So we're really into this. Jim, we just installed, I don't know if anyone else can say this, we just installed an AWAS.
That's right, you were telling me about that and all the things that you had to do to make that work.
Right, well, it was different and exciting and a challenge, and had to be 500 feet away from the building and in a good place. Anyhow, Blue Ash Airport, about 10 miles from us, was closed, which we were very sad to see. But before they bulldozed the AWAS, we got it. But we had to run high voltage out to there, and it was just commissioned about 6 weeks ago by the FAA, and it was fun to do.
But no doubt the paperwork had to outweigh the device before it was all done.
Of course, it can't see the weather without the paperwork.
No, unbelievable. I'll be darned. Hal, we walked through here, and I said we were talking to the manufacturers and this and that, but we also see people from the shops, and a lot of them are just starting out. They're trying to earn their way in the business. What advice do you give to somebody who's looking for a career in aviation, looking at aviation electronics, knows that the economy's not so good and aviation's under the gun and the future is going to be not exactly an easy ride? But what advice do you give to a young person looking at this now who may want to become an avionics technician?
For a kid, like I'm thinking about Adam Ralston, the kid who was going to go for to go to Caterpillar school.
Yep.
He is a perfect example, and he went to mechanic school for a couple of years and worked part-time for us. And all of a sudden one day we said, well, you seem to like this work over in the avionics shop. And I can see the next thing that's going to happen is he's going to start getting into the wiring and stuff. And that's the way you start. Try to get a job there. If you have a job in aviation, you're a mechanic in aviation. I hear how these kids in these dealerships and stuff make more money working on cars. But if you're an aircraft mechanic, you can always go to one of these dealers and make money. But how many mechanics out of a dealership would you want working on your airplane?
Exactly.
here I am. I don't even know how old I am. I'm 78 years old, and I go into work. I love going to work every day. My office
That's a gift.
Yeah. Hey, my office right here. I sit at a desk. Right here is a glass wall. 5 feet beyond that glass wall is our transient ramp. I'm going to be able to spot you when you come into the place.
Sounds like a plan.
As you climb out of that airplane, hey, there's Jim Campbell.
God help you when that happens. Folks, I got to tell you, we're having a wonderful time talking to friends, old and new. But like everything, there's a tremendous amount of information that we need to cover in the next hour and a half. Hal, I can't thank you enough for spending some time with us, and more important, giving us the benefit of the experience that you've had over decades of service to the aviation community, and I thank you much for that.
Thank you very much. I hope I didn't bore the audience too much.
No, I haven't seen anybody leave yet.
Okay.
There you go.
Aero-TV's live coverage of the 56th Annual AEA International Convention and Trade Show is brought to you in part by the following sponsors.